What's going on?
I heard that there is a butt-grabbing spirit in this car wash.
Come on! Are you a male or a female spirit? Once for a male, twice for a female.
These people let me do a paranormal investigation here. What's your name?
eill.dipperly420@yahoo.com.
Can you show yourself on camera?
No, thank you. I'll find something else to do.
Oh my God! What the hell? What's that, man?
Speaking to this device by my hand, if you're a spirit in here.
Go and fuck yourself. Where did you come from? Where did you go?
Are you able to get out if I open this?
Me again, go and fuck yourself.
This was probably one of the most terrifying moments I've ever had in my entire life on an investigation, and I literally almost died. I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Good evening, all, and welcome to the Krusty Rabbit Hole. I will address the video that I just played before as an introduction in a second. I just want to say thank you to Master Shredder for the kind prayers. I've had, I've had a rough time with it. Yesterday I was feeling great. I don't feel as great today, but we'll try and battle through it, kind of thing. But I really appreciate the kind words and thoughts, and yeah, I was watching. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to go back to the video that I played before we started here. It's funny, and it's an example. Cecil is an example of what is wrong with the paranormal on YouTube. He's a prime example of it. He's a representation of it. Jumping to conclusions. Now, I'm nearly sure this location was on Nuke's Top 5 or Slapped Ham or something like that. Here's the thing. And I've been asking this question for the last couple of weeks to myself. Now, Greg and Dana Newkirk from the Paranormal Objects podcast, or the channel is called Planet Weird. Guess where they live? They live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I believe Ohio and Cincinnati is across the river from Kentucky. Am I right? It's not too far away. I've heard Cecil talk about Cincinnati and Ohio. Right? Right, I didn't explain fully who Greg and Dana Newkirk are. Where's my glasses? But Greg and Dana Newkirk are people that are real paranormal researchers and research all kinds of different subjects around the paranormal. They are on YouTube under the name Planet Weird. I'll leave a link at the end of this video. It is very, very interesting. It's actually very entertaining because the couple have a great sense of humour. Dana is especially funny. But they cover all different kinds of subjects around the paranormal. Very often it's to do with objects and stuff like that as well. You know, and very, very logical thinkers. They are not willing to jump to conclusions and stuff like that, and actually do research. But their podcasts are very informative, very very steeped with a lot of knowledge and stuff like that. And I would suggest, people that are interested in the paranormal, but are lost in where they to start learning about it, the Haunted Objects podcast would certainly be something that I would I would approve. Very often in the past I've shouted out ghost hunting channels, and I ended up making a fool of myself, because further down the line they ended up faking. But Greg and Dana Newkirk, not the typical sort of ghost hunter sort of thing. We're talking about research. We're talking about history of objects, Bigfoot, the Kentucky Goblin. I think there was a series around that called Hellier, and that was around, obviously it was around Kentucky, stuff like that. Things that people like Cecil would learn a lot from, rather than getting information from TV shows that are based basically off entertaining. They also go into great detail about the Dybbuk box, and it's a good episode. It's a good podcast. They actually had was in possession of a so-called Dybbuk box, and they looked into it, and it didn't turn out to be what it claimed to be. And the fact that Dybbuk boxes aren't a thing, they were made up. They go into everything. They're very, very thorough with their information, and very valuable information for people that want to learn. Right, back to the video. Right, this is the reason I'm bringing up Greg and Dana Newkirk. They constantly talk about all these locations around, Ohio, Kentucky. There is so many places that you could go to make paranormal content. Where does Cecil go? To a car wash that has a story attached about a butt-grabbing ghost. Why would you go there and not these other places? Then again, we're talking about Cecil here. Cecil doesn't help himself, does he? If you're called out for what Cecil's been called out for, the last thing you should be doing is going to a location that's known for ghosts, and doing inappropriate things to other people. It says a lot. It really does. Now, there was three videos, or 2 videos, I think it was, shorts. I'm not going to play them because there's possibly copyright music on them, of Cecil trying to prove again that he's a good person. The gist of the story is, his daughter needed a new laptop, and it was an expensive one. And they were all in the shop. choosing a laptop. And who was along with them? With this girl that had been staying with them, which is Cecil's daughter's friend. Now, Cecil's daughter's friend has had a roller coaster of a ride. Has had a roller coaster of a life in this last while. And how do we know that? Cecil told us all. It was none of our business, but Cecil told us anyway. And rather than her not feeling, rather than her feeling bad that his daughter is getting a this expensive laptop, Cecil decides to give her an old laptop that he had at home. And here's the thing, it's a nice deed. The problem is when you fuck it up and you feel you have to make content out of it. The other video was filming her reaction to getting the laptop. And he couldn't even film it right, you know. Cecil, when he starts moving it, just, he's not a good camera person when he has to move anywhere. But why would you feel the need to publicise a good deed? Cecil thinks that by doing a good deed he's proven that he's a good person, and that's not exactly how it works. You can't do a good deed to cancel out a bad one. You still have to address the bad things, you know. Every time Cecil does that, it just kind of it doesn't seem genuine. Do you know? It adds an extra purpose, if you know what I mean. Do you know? I know he says it's a $200 laptop. It's probably $200 10 years ago. You know, either way, you know, he tried to do a good deed, but to publicise it, and to publicise it on his platform where nobody watches him except for people that criticise him, you know. So his core audience is people like myself, you know. Why is he wasting his time? Do you know? There was an odd bit of poking the bear. You know, I'm going to stay on YouTube as long as Shredder is on it, talking about me. I'm going to stay here. To be honest with you, there's no meat on the bone with some of these videos. A lot of them are just him doing this karaoke stuff, and he is an interest in music and he is an interest in singing, but lately his singing hasn't been so good. I only listen to parts of videos, but yeah. But because he's got a platform, he's going to do the same pattern as he did when he had his main channel. He's going to ignore people for a period of time, and then all of a sudden he's going to get angry and he's going to lash out for a couple of days and then take another break and then lash out again. And it's the same cycle of stuff, you know. I'm starting to question what I can do with covering Cecil and this channel for the future, because am I going to be going around in circles? Do you know? Yeah, there's been content where you could turn it into comedy and stuff and that, but you know, how long do I want to do that? You know? Lately I've been focusing more on my other channel. I have a big filming shoot day sometime this week. Met a very interesting old guy who has a collection of artifacts, and it was in this warehouse. And when I walked into this warehouse, the best way of describing it is the National Treasure, when they find the treasure. That's how I felt. You know, it was some really amazing stuff. But I won't talk too much about it because I'll leave it for the video. You know, we talk. I know. I'm feeling a bit dizzy. I'm just not. Today's not been a good day. So my blood pressure must be a little bit high or something. I don't know. But yeah, the last couple of days have been okay, but today is not that brilliant, to be honest. Stop now. I'm on the telly. Stop now. But of course, if Cecil knew, he'd be very happy that I've been sick, and that is not a good person, because when you think about it, how many times have Cecil done some really dumb shit, and order of magnitude reacted to his dumb shit, and instead of just making it into a kind of a comedy or reacting to it, he gives advice. So does his wife. I've done it too. And then we're called haters. But when you think about it, why would we be given advice if we hated somebody? If we hated somebody, wouldn't we want them to fail? You know? Some people say that we might want them to fail, but when you think about it, the amount of advice that's been given to them, do we really want them to fail? So are we haters? I don't think so. Do you know? But it's very difficult to know what to do, because I don't like to think about Cecil too much when I'm trying to look after myself, because he's stressful to deal with. You know? I just... But here's the other thing, right? Here's the other thing. Been on this for a couple of years now. What's improved? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know? So I don't know where, you know. Well, you could say that he was kind of forced off YouTube, and then sort of snuck back. You know, I suppose things like that are a win, but he's going to come back and do the same old stuff. Mind you, with less of an audience, you know. I wouldn't like to have the amount of stress that Cecil has. And the last couple of months have been very stressful for me. And stress can affect you mentally, but it also can affect you physically. And in my particular case, it affected me both ways. But more alarmingly, physically. High blood pressure, shakes, uncontrolled shakes under high pressure, kind of these twitches and stuff. Thankfully, the hospital done a scan. Doesn't seem to be anything alarming there, so. But it was so easy not to be in this stressful situation that Cecil is in by just taking some sort of accountability and just moving on. And the way my way of thinking is, if somebody's genuinely apologetic and remorseful, I don't have any other choice only to forgive them. Now, saying that, you know, I would do it gladly, because that's the way I work, you know. I just let him get on with his life, and I'd just do something else with this channel or something. And that would get rid of all the stress, you know. But, you know, I'm not him, so I don't know what his battle is. He's certainly, you know, not looking as healthy as he was. And you know when Cecil has a bit of a rant to and he has to get it out on YouTube. He's in the most random places. He could be in the car, he could be in the bathroom, he could be in the bath, or he could be in the bathroom at work. It's just, yeah, and he has to get it out, like. So you know that it niggles him. You know that he thinks about this stuff all the time. And it was so easily avoidable. So I just don't know. You know? There was one thing, and it was to do with the paranormal, that I actually, it kind of learned me a lesson in, do you know, when these TV shows like Ghost Adventures give a history of a building, and you, I always thought that some of the actions through an investigation was fabricated to keep the audience attention and that, but I actually genuinely thought that the history would possibly be true. And then Bobby Mackey's is one of those examples where the stories go around, and they go around for years. And it's the same sort of story. So Ghost Adventures ran with the same stories. And it turns out that this is all fabrication. So you would think with a budget like what Ghost Adventures have, they would actually have a researcher that would do research before an investigation, you know, and look into the documented history of a location before they go. You know, now why was all this fabricated? You know, like Bobby Mackey's is a music venue, and what way better to advertise a music venue than to bring Ghost Adventures in to do an investigation and put a reputation that this place is haunted. You know, it got the place on mainstream TV. But it's kind of looking kind of silly now, because even this poem that was wrote on the wall and that, it's the lyrics for a song. And the time the song was written just doesn't correspond with the time of the history of this Johanna writing this poem or song or whatever, this poem. Just it doesn't make any sense. If you don't believe what I'm saying, there's a guy called John Wolfe, and he actually done 2 episodes on Bobby Mackey's and done a lot of digging. You know, now, do you know what? In some ways, it wasn't Cecil's fault, because everybody was running with the same story and taking it that everything was gospel and that. But it just showed that you have to dig deep before you start putting out history from word of mouth, because word of mouth is just not reliable anymore. if you're gonna if you're gonna talk about history, and just do your own research first, rather than get it from somebody else. No matter how famous the stories are, you know. I know Cecil talks about paranormal research a lot, but he doesn't do research. But so that many other people didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't fully blame him, but it just highlighted to me that this, if a history of a building or a history of a place, location that's been investigated, if it isn't that exciting, they would add pieces onto it, allegedly. But, I cannot understand. I can't understand this butt grabbing ghost in a car wash. Now, Cecil, if you want to share how you got that information, I'd love to know, because it's bugging me. I keep looking it up. I keep trying to research. I can't find it, but I do remember years ago, and I'm nearly sure it was a kind of like a top 5 or top 10, ghost stories channel, like a, Nuke's Top 5 or Slapped Ham or something like that. And I think I remember something like that, but my God, of all the places you could go, Cecil goes to this butt-grabbing ghost location. Not a good idea. Then again, Cecil always never seems to help himself. He's I kind of sometimes wonder, is he poking the bear, but I thought maybe this doing metal detecting in kids' playground was sort of poking the bear, but I don't know. I don't think so. Think that this going to this car wash location was poking the bear. I thought he was trying to be genuine there. But you'd think after at least 10 years on YouTube and in the paranormal that you would actually learn and evolve. But there's just some people that they watch the TV shows and that's the way you do things. Here's the thing about research. Research is about trying different things, not just copying other people, And every time I see a video like this, I lose faith in the paranormal community. I've lost that a long time ago, but it's just so stupid. But just found it a little bit suspicious that of all the places in Kentucky, apparently there's I think it's the biggest cave system in the world is in Kentucky. Over 200 miles or something like that. And it's supposed to be haunted. There's Bigfoot, there's flipping some sort of goblin to Kentucky goblin or something. Bigfoot, many haunted locations, both indoor and outdoor, both pay and free places, and we never got to see any of it. You would think somebody that actually did care about the paranormal would want to go to some of these places, but that never happened, did it? And it makes me think that, it was all about views. Even these Spurt Box sessions. Never even researched ITC either. It was just copy what Steve Huff does. That's all. But anyway, I'm going to go. I'm not feeling that great, but I have been better over the last couple of days, so we'll see how things go. We'll see how things go. As I says, I have filming to do sometime this week on my main channel, Life After Life Productions, and it's possibly going to be one of the most important ones, because the guy that owns this collection knows a lot of things. And it's not just about local history or the history of the country. There's tribal stuff. There's stuff from Africa, India, China, Japan, all different cultures. And a lot of this tribal art, like masks and, you know, these little wooden sculptures and stuff, that possibly was part of religious ceremony or something, or yeah, religious ceremony, let's say, or rituals, maybe. I don't know. But those were some of the things that he didn't know too much about. And this guy brought me around. He was 85. He's 85. And he's got prices on everything. But I was in there for 40 minutes and he showed me around, and the minute he came in, the minute I went in, he was in after me. He was sitting in the car outside, because there's so much stuff in this warehouse that he had no place to sit in this place. So he was sitting in the car outside. But the minute he came in, he spent 40 to 45 minutes showing me all his favourite pieces and the history of them. And never once did he mention prices or selling or anything like that. And maybe it's because he's attached to these things. Because it was a warehouse, and it was crammed, packed. There was an upstairs and everything. And he says halfway through, he says, this is only half of it. I have another unit over here, full as well. So I'm thinking, gee, Mac. And I was thinking, this guy is so good at telling history and talking to people and stuff. It would have been it's more valuable than money. And it would have been great if there was a big, massive premises, and it was turned into a big, massive, mega museum. And he was a kind of a curator, you know, a tour guide, you know, and it would still make money, because, you know, it would be a tourist thing. But I think it's the stories that this guy was able to tell about these things, and what people got out of them, you know. And, you know, people just walked. I seen other people walking into the shop, you know, and their jaw just drop. You know, they're just pure shocked, because some of this stuff is out of this world kind of thing. But I asked him, and I didn't want to film on the day. I wasn't prepared. I just wanted to see if there was anything interesting in it. I wasn't expecting much, but when I walked in the door, I went, oh my God. It was just like national treasure, like. And I did ask him, I says, do you mind if I come back during the week and do a little video? Well, it won't be a little video. It'll probably be a number of videos. And he says, yeah, no problem. So I'm looking forward, and I'm hoping that he will be in the video talking about these items and stuff. I'm really excited about that, you know. I've looked back over the last couple of years covering Cecil, and sometimes I've wasted a lot of time editing and stuff, and chopping up things and doing this and that, and I'm not willing to do that kind of thing anymore, because I've got other ways of wasting my time than on this guy. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, yeah, I'm putting out awareness in that, but if it's not reaching a lot of people, why am I putting in so much effort? I'm not begging for subs or views or anything like that, but my time could be spent in other places, and has been, and thinking about things and doing things that don't give me stress. Cecil does, you know, and I have a lot of thinking to do. You know, sometimes I give myself a break by reacting to a video of Cecil and not thinking about the horrible things behind everything, and just react to the video because I can turn it into a bit of comedy in that. I don't mind doing stuff like that, but if I have to delve deep into thinking about the horrible things I've done, or the horrible things that he has done, I'm not mentally prepared at this moment in time to carry Cecil around like that when I have other things to deal with and stuff like that. But we'll see how things go. Hopefully things will improve in the health-wise and stuff like that. And again, thank you, Shredder, for sending out prayers and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. But I think it's about all I can really say at the moment. And we'll see how it goes. And, you know, if you're interested in paranormal content and places I go with my dog and stuff like that, feel free to go to my main channel. I think with the paranormal, I'm starting to evolve a little bit, and I'm thinking more in the line of research rather than ghost hunting, because I'm sort of over the standard ghost hunting that everybody does. You know, I want something different from paranormal investigating, rather than the same old script as Ghost Adventures and Most Haunted, and all of these have embedded in the way ghost hunters do their thing. I'm not satisfied with that. I want something different out of the paranormal and stuff like that, you know. Oh yes, I forgot. There was another plan during the week that was on hold, and that was a very special, visit from from Cardinal Ernest Cerconi. And apologies, that was a bit embarrassing. My brain isn't working. It's Ernest Simone. Oh dear. Oh dear. A lot of people in the paranormal wouldn't even have heard who this guy is. This guy, he's 96, I think it is, 96 or 97, and you've heard of the Devil on the Run tour, Annabelle here, you know. I'm not going to talk about that. Well, there is another tour that nobody in paranormal is actually talking about, and that is the World Exorcism tour. Now, this guy, the way exorcism works in Catholicism is, when you become an exorcist, you are an exorcist for the diocese that you're working in. Well, Ernest Cerconi was made cardinal by the previous Pope, Pope Francis. Pope Francis has given Cardinal Ciccone special privileges outside of his diocese of work. And the reason for that, he was moved by Cardinal Ciccone's story, which is quite sad, because he spent 28 years in an Albanian prison for saying Mass, for practicing his faith. And when he was in prison, he was secretly breaking the bread and giving it to the other prisoners and curing them. There is another, it's supposed to be documented. If I get the document, I'll look into it. Apparently Cardinal Ciccone had cured a girl from blindness. So what I'm looking at was, I was looking at it, first of all, when I was told that Cardinal Ciccone is coming to this area. I wanted to visit and I wanted to ask questions in a more scientific way rather than a spiritual way. But the more I looked into him, the more he kind of reminded me of Padre Pio with miracles and stuff. Now, the Exorcist tour has been plagued with resistance, seemingly of a negative or demonic force. Albania is across from Italy. He was in Italy at the start of this tour, and he was exorcising a Italian gypsy lady, and that gypsy lady broke Ernest Ciccone's hand, and because he's so old and so frail, it was feared that he may not even survive that kind of injury, and a relative was praying to Padre Pio, and apparently his hand healed in a very, very short space of time. Not only is Ernest Ciccone doing this mass exorcism tour, he's got a team of people, and apparently the teams of people are experiencing demonic attacks, according to the sources that I looked up, and that. Now, was it Friday? I was supposed to go and meet with Cardinal Ciccone, and then I find out that he won't be in Ireland, and it was very short notice. That it was just a day before. The day before I was supposed to see him, or was it the morning of the same day that I found out he wasn't coming, and apparently he's sick at the moment with sore feet, you know. And I did see the last video that was on YouTube. It was in New York, I think it was. And you know, he walks he doesn't walk a very good distance. He stands up and he does this. He has a little, you know, a little pulpit, and he talks from that. But then he goes over to his seat, which isn't that far away, and I could see the difficulty that he was having. I just hope that this comes back on track and I can actually get to see him, maybe film what he has to say, and hopefully there's some sort of an interpreter there, There had been in the United States. The plan was to do a tour of all of the United States and then come over to Europe. And I think he was in the UK and was coming to Ireland, and unfortunately he can't come to Ireland on the planned day, but hopefully I'll get some sort of news that I'll be able to see him and that. I'm probably not going to get all the information that I initially wanted, but at the same time he's a good subject to look into, because I was actually going to start looking into other cases like Padre Pio and other saints and the apparitions here in Ireland of Mary, also in Lourdes and stuff like that, and look into all of that kind of thing as well, because at the end of the day it's kind of all the same sort of subject. So it'll be interesting, because there's a lot of misinformation on exorcisms, and these there's people acting like priests and acting like exorcists and that, and they're just self-appointed people. They're not even real exorcists and that. And I just want to know the truth around exorcisms and that. And going down this route, I think I'm going to get the proper answers. Now, I did actually order a book, and the book was written by it's about the life story of the head exorcism in Rome, which a film was made called The Priest Exorcist, I think it was called. I didn't see it. I thought it might have been a horror film, but The Priest Exorcist is based on the guy I'm buying, the book that I'm going to read. So I'm looking to look into all of that. But there was a lot of misinformation coming up on YouTube lately, especially around the Warrens and Ian Lawman. And other people like that, and as well as that, ghost hunters claiming to be possessed every Saturday night when they go out ghost hunting. It's not the way it works, and you just don't. That's all for show. What we want is facts. Now, Cecil, that's what you call research. You dig. You don't just take other people's word for things, you look things up. If you're into paranormal research, do your own digging. Don't just take people's word for it, because there's a lot of bullshit on YouTube, and Cecil falls for it every time. This thing about, oh, he must be telling the truth because he's got 1 million or 2 million subscribers. Having 1 million or 2 million subscribers in the paranormal is actually a red flag for me, because where we are is like putting a square brick in a round hole. It's entertainment. So if a person's getting a big following, obviously he's entertaining them. The question would be, is he entertaining them in a true way or in a fake way, and fabricating things, But if I can get back, if Ernest Sarconi is able to get back to Ireland, I'm hoping to be able to at least meet him, and maybe hopefully film. I hope. That's if I have permission to do that. I don't know what this team is going to think about that. Whether they could be filming for some sort of their own film production, or I don't know anything about that. But if I see an opportunity that I can film, I will do it. If not, I'll try and audio record, so I can, I can go back and hear what he has to say. But he has to get better soon. So, feel free to look him up. There's some fascinating stories on the guy, and very often when you talk about these exorcisms within the Catholic Church, sometimes they're little small men, skinny little men. You wouldn't think they were, they're kind of quiet. They're not these, they're not a picture of physical strength, but some of these little small people, there's a lot of power behind them, Yeah, I was very, very disappointed I couldn't go, that this didn't happen, that he couldn't get over. But hopefully when he recovers, he seems to be determined to want to do this, So, hopefully I get to meet him soon and that. But I'll keep you posted if I get any more information on that. Right, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Whispers in the sky, shadows in the night, searching for a signal through the endless fright. Voices on the edges of where our worlds collide, haunting questions echo in the absence of the light. Echoes bouncing back like ghosts trapped in a well, creaking through the silence where the lost spirits dwell. Fingers grasping at the veil, seeking something real. In the dead of night we break through truth we steal. Life after life, what do you see? Answer me, spirit, speak to me. Endless dark, oh, set me free. Life after life, show me what can be. Through flickering screens and garbled noise, we reach into the unknown like errant boys. Ghosts trapped in wires, specters riding waves, hunting for the answer to the secrets of the graves. Cool breath on my neck, the air is thick with dread. It's not the living, but the dead inside my head. Desperate for the whispers, desperate for the sign. What's beyond the living earth? Tell me what I'll find. Life after life, what do you see? Answer me, spirit, speak to me. Endless dark will set me free. Life after life, show me what can be. Through flickering screens and garbled noise, we reach into the unknown like errant boys. Ghosts trapped in wires, specters riding waves, hunting for the answer to the secrets of the graves. Cool breath on my neck, the air is thick with dread. It's not the living, but the dead inside my head. Desperate for the whispers, desperate for the sign. What's beyond the living earth? Tell me what I'll find. Life after life, what do you see? Answer me.